From the center of the galaxy and live to all of you here right now, this is Force Center, a late-breaking news show about Star Wars, pop culture, and life itself, but also, we're here to talk about news that broke today. I'm Cat Knapsack, and I'm excited.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw, and I'm also excited. This is a ginger beer, though, not whiskey.
I'm Jennifer Landa, and I have my green smoothie. I'm excited.
Oh, man, I'm bored. I have a cup of water in branded mugs.
Jennifer is the most on brand, drinking something that looks like Grogu would be fed by his armor daddy.
Yeah, it does. I do have some Grogu stuff here. I do have some Grogu merch. And breaking news, Nathan Hamill, if you're watching.
Oh, you got it.
We took it from Comic-Con. I'll mail it back to you. All right. Here's the deal. We've got breaking news. We got two stories to discuss, but really we're going to focus on a big headlining story, which means we're going to have fun talking about it, diving in like we do here in the Force Center way. But also if you have questions, super chats with questions, all those kind of things, we will take them after we're kind of done discussing it because we don't want to spend all the time looking at your wonderful comments and questions. Now we want to dive in as we do in the Force Center way. So that's the housekeeping. Joseph, what do we got today?
Yeah, sudden big news, late breaking, early breaking. I don't know. Fans of Force Center have long known of our curse that as soon as we record a new episode, particularly a news episode, or maybe like today's episode where we talk a lot about the future of the movies, that news will then break. That absolutely makes our new episode old news. The curse struck really great today. I was literally typing the promo for our episode when this wonderful news broke. Lucasfilm officially announced a new film. The press release is real short, so instead of trying to summarize it, I'm just going to read it for accuracy. Here's what Lucasfilm actually said. Not your cousin or a weird website. What Lucasfilm actually said. The Mandalorian and Grogu are embarking on a new adventure to movie theaters. Directed by Jon Favreau and produced by Favreau, Kathleen Kennedy, and Dave Filoni, The Mandalorian and Grogu will go into production in 2024. I have loved telling stories set in the rich world that George Lucas created, said Favreau. This prospect of bringing the Mandalorian and his apprentice Grogu to the big screen is extremely exciting. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have ushered into Star Wars two new and beloved characters, and this new story is a perfect fit for the big screen, added Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm. The Mandalorian and Grogu will lead Lucasfilm's ongoing feature development slate, including films helmed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, James Mangold, and Dave Filoni, who is also currently developing Ahsoka Season 2, among those in the works. This is the way. So one of the great things about this press release is just this little, oh, by the way, yeah, we greenlit Ahsoka Season 2. By the way, no big deal.
By the
way. So this is, in fact, the first news that I saw of like Ahsoka Season 2 confirmed and something else. So we are going to do our big normal Tuesday deep dive episode about Ahsoka Season 2. There's so much to talk about of what will happen with that show, when it'll come out, hope streams, all that. So for this live stream, we're going to really just focus on the Mando and Grogu movie film. We've been discussing a lot on Force Center over the past several months. The idea that I first encountered reading a Sammy Davis Jr. autobiography, that it's called Show Business because there's the show and the business. We are going to talk about the show. We're going to talk about the art, the film, the story, the emotions, but we get distracted by the business. So we're going to talk about the business first, about this being the next film, how that is going to, affect box office and discourse and all that. So Ken, business first. Do you think this is a good move to have this Mando and Grogu movie be the next big Star Wars film, the return to cinemas?
Because we're live, I feel like this is extra like sports stocky. I'm buying this news story. I'm buying it high. I will say this right now. When the news broke for me, it was Alex Star Wars Explained's Twitter feed. I was having a bowl of Apple Jacks, getting ready for my live show on my YouTube channel, and I saw him, and I was like, "Oh God, here we go!" I'm excited about the news story. I think that announcement was great. We can talk about that. I think the move, I'm going to say good plus. I have some questions. There was a rumor going around, and this is why we don't report on rumors too much here around Force Center. I think scoop business has changed. It's a little bit more harmful than it was in 2014, 2015. But you could, make your money, get your clicks, whatever. But I want to wait for it official so I actually know what I'm speculating on and actually know what they want out there. And I think it's a good move plus. That's where I'll start. That's where I'll start, Joseph. I'm buying good move plus.
So your plus is like an asterisk, like you have questions, or you.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's again the having Star Wars news again post this 2023 strike world that we were living in for so long. That is super exciting. Am I excited to see this movie? Will I be there on opening day? Hopefully before. Will I be there the entire weekend? Absolutely. I'm intrigued. I think this is a good move. I have quite, how's it going to look? How much, the volume has caused some problems for me and others over the years of how would it translate to the big screen. I'm not worried that they're asking themselves those questions. I just have those questions right now. But overall, yeah, this makes a lot of sense for the series and the show and these characters.
Okay. Jennifer, how about you? Do you feel good about the business side of this is going to be good for the health and the vibrance of Star Wars, that this is the next film in theaters, or are you concerned? Jennifer, you're muted, I believe.
I'm muted. Yes. What I was going to say, I think it's really, really smart because if I was a Lucasfilm executive, this is the move that I would make. And the reason why is because Star Wars, as many of us know, has been back in the news for a surprising reason. There were some comments taken out of context with director Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, and a lot of people were very angry within the fandom. And it actually, my dad was like, "What's going on with that Star Wars movie?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, we've known about this movie." He was like, it was the first time he was hearing about it, and it was the drama around it. And I found that to be a bit troubling because I was like, oh, if the casual person is only knowing about Star Wars in relation to drama, that is not good, especially because there is so much pressure for Star Wars to perform at the box office, to be able to have Star Wars is back. This is a positive thing. We want a blockbuster. The numbers are going to absolutely matter. So I think that they shuffled the deck. Maybe this is a last minute play. Maybe this was always in the works, but if this is the movie that's going to be in theaters, it's making a claim saying this is, going to appeal to a wide variety of audience members. I can take my 8-year-old daughter to this. That's exciting. But I think it's really smart. Very, very smart.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk more about the fact that the Rey and the New Jedi Order movie seemed to be next up on deck.
Yes.
And it is not anymore. So I definitely want to give that topic its full due. But just to start with, from the business perspective, this does feel safe, but in a wise way to me. I think that Mando and Grogu are, despite my saying the name wrong, are incredibly recognizable to a vast audience. That first season in particular really hit, I think, because you really there were things there for people who were really in the Star Wars bubble, but you did not need any backstory to just know cold, distant, but clearly kind man adopts the most adorable baby ever put on screen. It was a great story, and it hooked people of all generations, all levels of Star Wars fandom. I think that is still there. I think in the more intense Star Wars bubble, I think there's definitely been some disappointment, disagreement with some of Mando season 2 and more of Mando season 3, and feeling like the story is going off the rails. But I think the love of those characters is still there. So I just feel like it's a really smart move from the character recognition level to general audiences and for Star Wars fans. I also think that with the up and down that Star Wars has had over the years with directors, Favreau is about the most, rock solid choice, which is not to denigrate any other directors or future directors. But remember, he's not just a guy making Star Wars. He's, indie filmmaker who exploded on the scene with Swingers and made Disney billions of dollars with the Lion King, and I don't even know what all else. But he, that whole Iron Man MCU thing. Not only is he a rock solid writer director, the relationship with him is rock solid, and for the health of a new movie, he's a rock solid promoter.
Mm-hmm.
That man loves to chat. But put him on any talk show set, put a microphone in front of him, and he's going to talk with honesty and enthusiasm. He's a great carnival barker as well as a trusted artistic and business partner. I also think for the, hey, let's get Star Wars back in the theater. I'm sure there's a ton of pre-production, but there's a lot about these characters, this world that is already designed and defined. And it is much more about how can we add new things? How can we make it bigger? But it's not starting from as much of the ground zero.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Ken, go ahead.
No, I think we can't run away from what's going to be. We live in a conspiracy society. I just spent the entire morning debating the fact that there was no aliens at a Miami mall, and that a large police presence for kids launching fireworks is actually pretty normal, I can assure you. But everyone's going to run with it. So we have to run at the headline that Jen, you kind of touched upon, is like a lot of people already think this is a distractionary move, the stuff around it. But to your point, I think that's a reality. You know, the news, the algorithm takes us where it wants us to go in terms of discussions and discourse, and the out of context comments, the misogyny and sexism thrown back at the next movie only ramped up tenfold this past week, and that does become the conversation. I don't believe this was a let's press launch on this. I think this was a long talked about discussion. We had heard again rumors that hey, maybe the next season, and want to shout out James Farley in our chat saying from Deadline at present a fourth season of his hit series is also in development. So we're not necessarily saying that. I'll get our dumb names off the screen because people know who we are. Sorry, your names are great. My name's dumb. But I think it does, going to your smart move comment, Joseph, I think this is a smart move. These are characters, nothing about Rey is this isn't distractionary. But the conversation's going to happen anyways. Mando and Grogu took the world by storm in 2019. So, and the big thing, and this is probably where you might be going next, because of the strike, because we were discussing even last week. Well, if this Rey movie's next 2025 doesn't seem like that's going to happen, that got pushed back. We got Avatar during that December run. This was already stuff that was in pre-production, I believe. This was already stuff that they were like, well, we got this. This is why I'm actually kind of surprised that season 4 might still be a go. I would think it would make some sense to be like, we already got this. Let's go now. And oh, by the way, and I'll pitch it back to you, Jeff, streaming's in a little bit of a transitionary period already.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's fun about this to me is, not knowing the behind the scenes realities, but I can imagine a world where Favreau has been clear in some interviews about like, I have a lot of ideas about where things go, but then I discover as I go along the way, and I want to do a Boba Fett show, and then Dave's like, well, you can't really, but then I find out who Boba Fett is these days, and I go, that's really interesting. Let's make a Boba Fett show. He is somebody who is very, I think, creatively fluid in a good way. So I can see him noodling away going, hey, Kathy, I've been reading the trades. You want a movie? I got a movie idea. Would that be helpful right now? I got a movie.
Kathy, do you want a Cubano and a movie?
I've just been cooking in the kitchen, and the omelet got real big. It's movie size now. Got a movie size Cubano cooking. Kathy, you want that? I can really see that is a good kind of fluidity. People talk so much about did they plan, and to me, Favreau is an example of somebody who knows the big strokes of who these characters are, where they're headed in the big picture, but is letting the muse guide him as he goes. And I think that's going to be potentially really, really good for this film. We'll talk more about that fourth season because I think that to me really impacts what the story might be. The film, I was wondering if the film is going to be sort of a culmination, but if it's more like, hey, here's their big summer adventure, now back to their school year, is a whole different vibe. We've been talking around it. So let's just go to talking about the Charmin Obey Genoa, and we'll come back to release dates. I think all of us on Force Center have been very excited for the Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy-led film of Rey and the New Jedi Order. I'll kick off part of our conversation about. I am a little bummed that isn't the next movie. I'm excited for Mando and Grogu. I think it's a really smart move. It's really exciting. But the Rey and the New Jedi Order movie is the one that I'm most excited for. I'm excited to see a Jedi in their prime / middle age. All of our big on-screen adventures of Jedi have been their coming of age stories. Luke, Anakin, Rey. And this was, to me, an exciting opportunity to see one of our main Jedi characters handling the middle of life, the prime of life. On top of that, everything that Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy has said about it, that it is a film about the Jedi are being rebuilt, a force for peace and justice. And there are a lot of people in the galaxy who don't want that. That's exciting to me on lots of levels. A big one being that this could really be a story where the Jedi are the heroes. And yep, they have flaws, but they are the heroes, no doubt about it. So I was excited about this film for lots of reasons. So I am a little bummed that it is not the first one back. I feel it's a very delicate conversation because I don't. I think it's probably good for this film to not have the pressure of being the first film back, but at the same time, like, yeah, it's a woman-led film. It's a film with diversity. It's a film that everything that's been said about it is a film about how much protectors of peace and justice are needed, and what are the forces in society who don't want to allow that. It's a politically charged sounding film. So there's that part of me that wants to say, don't back down. Put that out first, period. But there's that other part of me that says, give that one time to cook, to develop, let it be its own film, and let it not have the pressure of being, can Star Wars still work in theaters in the 2020s? Jennifer, what are your thoughts? What's your balance on those different extremes?
I think it's really tiring and exhausting to see this kind of thing that happened with the sequel trilogy about Rey being a Mary Sue, just being dredged up all over again. And now seeing political figures getting involved. It's really sad, right? That they would even have to consider potentially holding back on something. But at the same time, I'm like, well, it's just a reality. Is that a woman-led film is going to have a lot more pressures. It needs to make the money that, like, that's why Barbie was such a huge, by the way, I saw that. We can talk about that another episode.
That's the biggest breaking news of this episode to me. I can't wait. Put a pin in that.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing about Barbie is, there was some like negative talk around it, but you could not deny the juggernaut that movie was, and the 4 quadrants that Greta Gerwig has talked about, and how it appealed to so many different types of audience members. And I think if it takes more time for the Rey movie to kind of be perfect, unfortunately, then it just will take more time because it has to be done right. And it's just sad and it's frustrating, but it is a reality. And who knows what will happen a few years from now? I mean, things are always changing in the industry, especially.
Yeah, Ken, how are you wrestling with the balance of give them time to cook, let this movie be the greatest movie it can be, versus the perception that it's being pushed back for a safer film?
Yeah, I'm now that we're live and on camera, you can see me nodding like I would be if we were recording the podcast. I agree with you both here. This was probably the big reason behind my good plus. I am a little bummed that Rey, or we keep saying the Rey film, but the New Jedi Order film, whatever it's going to be, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's movie, isn't first out of the gate. I think for a lot of reasons that was my choice, including just most anticipated in terms of the 3 movies on the docket. I'm intrigued by the Mangold one, curious about Filoni's, but I think I really wanted this one, and I still want it. And hey, it's still coming. We just have to wait a little bit longer. We can't ignore the discourse. We also just have to kind of. I've been watching a lot of football, Joseph, Jennifer. We just have to sometimes punt the ball down the field because we can't control what people are going to think. We cannot control. We could fight back. We should fight back and get misogynistic messaging, sexist messaging, anti-diversity messaging. We can fight back against it. We can fight back against politicians who need to stage beer drinking to prove how tough they are instead of staying and supporting their state when they need them. We can do all that, but it is going to be what it's going to be. One of the biggest realities is that strike. Pens down. Pens down. And this film is in development. There's definitely going to be art. There's definitely going to be post-it notes. There's definitely maybe even the first draft out there. But they had to go pens down. And the industry's been disrupted. And Favreau, I think, already had enough. I think he's also, it's a little bit different, dare I say, lower stakes. Mandalorian and Grogu is a little lower stakes in terms of launching an entire new era of Star Wars. Those are the realities. No one's going to want to accept those realities. We're discussing it online. They're going to go to the big headlines. And taking out of context a quote from 2013 about a documentary about honor killings in Pakistan. I want men uncomfortable about that, and I don't mind men uncomfortable in Star Wars, right? So I'm with you, Joseph. I'm with you, Jennifer. A little bummed. I'd love to come out swinging, but this makes some sense based on the last year that's happened.
Yeah, no, there's so many different filters to look at it through, and going back to the filter of Star Wars and which Star Wars story is coming next. I think a benefit of The Mandalorian and Grogu is there was already so much discussion between fans of Rey and the New Jedi Order. Is that just episode 10? It's a main character and the Jedi coming back. Is it just a new trilogy beginning? Should they just call it episode 10? Which for me, I'm sort of like, I just want the story to be great. I don't have a dolphin in that fight trying to honor your football team, Ken. I don't have a dolphin in that fight.
Thank you.
But the Mandalorian and Grogu coming out first in a new wave of Star Wars films, to me, kind of says Star Wars movies can be anything. Whereas if something that is sort of episode 10, a main character, huge galactic stakes, is the first out of the gate, it maybe reinforces that's how Star Wars films succeed in theaters. But if the Mandalorian and Grogu has high personal stakes, but not huge galactic stakes, and does well, I think it's a good reinforcement that Star Wars movies can potentially be anything and succeed in the theater.
And you know what? This is what I was thinking about when I was at the Target toy aisle, and I always look at the Star Wars area. And I saw a lot of Star Wars toys that were geared towards younger kids, like probably about 5, 6 years old. My 8-year-old, who was really interested in Star Wars, she's past that point because there wasn't the Young Jedi Adventures when she was younger, which really could have been a great introduction for her. I think this is really smart because if you have The Mandalorian and Grogu in theaters, you can take kids, and kids are going to be the next generation of fans, which is what they need to have successes, right? It's not just going to be older fans or even 30-something, 20-something year olds. It's the kids who are going to be dragging their parents to Target to go buy the toys and who are going to be obsessive about everything just like we were. So I think that it's really smart to have the cutest little Grogu in the movie theater, appealing to both, grandparents and younglings alike.
Yeah, I think you're incredibly correct, but also one of my biggest challenges for this movie is I already have a lot of action figures of Mando and Grogu, and for Star Wars to live up to its reputation of they just write stories to sell action figures. They got to put them in like weird khakis and underwater outfits, and they got to switch them up so we can have some fresh Mando and Grogu action figures. That's my
Chicken
problem.
McNuggets.
It's
Different
my
outfits that they can change.
Exactly. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about release dates. There's been constant release date shuffles. I did a quick Google, and maybe it's not the best Google, but the latest news I could find is from back in June during strike seasons. Disney did this massive release shuffle and had moved Star Wars films along with almost everything else, MCU, Avatar. They shuffled everything. The current dates in June that I found for Star Wars films are May 22nd, 2026, December 18th, 2026, December 17th, 2027. Now, those dates change all the time, and I feel like those announcements of what date we're releasing slates on for years ahead of time are not, they're released to the public, but I don't think they're really about public consumption. I think they're, urination matches between studios about which date are you going to take, who's going to back off, which, the great Barbenheimer, neither of us are going to back off. And this is what, and it became something special. I think comes of things like this. The press release is so clear of production is beginning in 2024. So Ken, what is your hope? What is your dream? What does your pundit hat say about when this movie might come out?
My branded pundit Beanie is hoping May 2025. And first of all, you're right, Joseph. This changes all the time. I'm even reading today's Hollywood Reporter, Boris Kitt and Aaron Couch, who are deep in the business, still saying that December 19th, 2025 slot is on the books. And I'm not here to doubt them. I just don't know, and I just don't know if that's still the case. We had a listener point out the Avatar flagpole sitting right there in that month too. That not that you couldn't do both, but for me, that May sweet spot. If it's going into production this year, going back to the volume question, I'm sure some of it, if not a lot of it, will be shown in the volume, which speeds things up a lot too. Favreau's got it down. His crew's got it down. His wonderful crew's got it down. That May 25, a classic May 2025. Beginning of summer season release. And as you said, it's the summer of Mando and Grogu, a little summer adventure before they go back to school. That's the tagline. Drew Struzan, make a poster of
it. Jennifer, are you sold? Do you want the summer of Mando and Grogu next calendar year, 2025?
That is fast. That is really, really fast. It means that Favreau already has the script locked and ready. They are assembling they already have so much of the production, like you guys are saying. Like they have their sets, they have their, costume designer, all that stuff, right? So it could happen. And we know that he's really great with all the technical stuff, the visual effects, blah, blah, blah. It just feels really fast, in my opinion. So Avatar's in December, right? December of 2025 is what you're saying?
I think
I'll look that up over chat.
Yeah, I think who knows?
Because it makes more sense. December could be more believable. May is really fast, I think. I don't know.
I think it seems to me the idea of, hey, let's get it ready as soon as we can, and then let's just see what feels right for the business. MCU is doing, unless they change it, a slowdown for 2024. So do they think a year to build it up? Hey, we got we do have Star Wars Celebration in Japan in 2025 on the books, right? 2025? Yeah.
What
if it was
month?
this year, we would have already had to have had tickets.
April. I'm considering having my birthday in Tokyo.
Yeah. So it's a big launching period. 2025 would be great. That's 6 years of Star Wars out of theaters.
Oh, wow. Yeah. The time is right, but production wise, Andor seemed to take a long time. And you look at those behind the scenes videos with the sets and everything. Granted, they're building it all from scratch. I want that scale. I want that scale with Mandalorian.
I really agree with that. And I think that's got to be a part of this, that it isn't just Favreau saying, hey, I can knock this out in our super high technology backyard that is the volume. I think it's like, let's go to the next level. We know what shots look good on the volume, but let's build a massive set. Let's go shoot this in an actual jungle. This scene. Let's make a massive set piece that's like, wow, you can't see that on television. Exactly. Then that will be that. Can they go back down to it? But it feels like this is the time to say, let's really wow people.
Yeah, you can't do that on television. It was a great Nickelodeon show. I have two updates for you. It's so hard to get the right information. December 19th, 2025 is listed as Avatar 3 in some places. Whether or not it's 100% accurate. Again, there's aliens in a Miami mall. Believe everything you see in the internet. But that's the spot right now. But at least we know it's that month. And the question about, it's sometimes a discussion I don't even like to have because I feel I get down on the wonderful technology that's the volume. It doesn't always look great to me, and I think you're right. I think look at like some of Favreau's Lion King remakes and those kind of things they're all tech, they're all done and with magic, but they have that scope. And I like my Star Wars to have actual bolts and bricks and real things in it, and that's why the look of Andor and Rogue One and Solo. I love the way Solo is shot. So if we can find a way to do that, I do think, go back to your thoughts, Jen, too, to follow up on that about the speed of it. If a lot of it is volume based, and the volume's only gotten bigger. The stagecraft stuff has only gotten bigger and better, right? We all do know and agree with that. The speed of that and how the pre-production is key. How the fight scenes, everything's all coordinated. It's on an iPad before you even get to the set to shoot it. That speeds up the process, and that's why I think 2025 May or December. I haven't seen that movie yet either. Is still very reasonable for the release.
It's also a matter of an incredibly seasoned director with a great tech brain. It's not like Favreau's like, I am an auteur and I know you make the little gremlins on the computer and I'll try to help you figure it out. Like, this is a man who, as he's writing, going, I know how I'm going to do that. I know. I'm going to try to do it this weird way, and I know exactly what to ask the gang. He's so savvy. I think one of the most interesting things to think about, and people are mentioning in the comments, is Pedro Pascal. Somebody's just saying Pedro Pascal confirmed back. I feel like this is like old school news, like we're reporting on like an attack on a president's life or something. Like breaking news, Pedro Pascal is confirmed. It's like
I'm online too. This is what I love about being live. I can go to the internet, the magic of the internet, and see what I get. But yes, sorry, I interrupted you.
Somebody's saying Pedro Pascal confirmed back. There's a part of me that's really entertained by Pedro that hadn't been asked yet. He's sipping his morning coffee while reading the scripts for The Last of Us season 2, and just massive, charming spit take.
I imagine every morning in Pedro's life right now is that meme of him and Nick Cage where he's just like, and he's happy to be hitting home runs left and right.
Yeah. All right, so I think our extremely accurate conjecture is we don't know when it's going to be released, and nobody else does. I think it's within possibility for summer 2025, and I think it could change a million times. 2025 would be great, summer or December, because I think it would be great to get rolling again, to have these movies announced and be able to get to a lot of them. Okay, so we've talked the business. Is there any other burning business stuff before we get into the show part of show business?
The only thing, and it's a discussion we'll have on the main show next week. We're going to look ahead to Ahsoka season 2, wants, desires, that dangerous word, need. But there's some business about the streaming. Streaming isn't going away. I keep complaining I have to watch a football playoff game on Peacock only. I have to sign up for a streaming service to watch my team this Saturday. I cannot believe that. I'm upset at that. But it's not going away. But it's changing. Ahsoka season 2 is going to be streaming. And if Mando 4 still exists, I'm not saying the rug's been pulled out, but I just think that it is starting to change, and we're starting to see those discussions. And I made the joke this week, but Disney Plus presented by Apple TV, courtesy of Amazon's a reality, unless we do some kind of break-in of the monopolies here. We need the ghost of Teddy Roosevelt back. I'm fascinated about that. We don't have all the information, so that's a discussion for another day. But it's part of the story for me too.
Yeah, no, I think what we've been told of the Filoni film, that it is a culmination of the Mandoverse, and then we're looking now wonderfully at a second season of Ahsoka. Skeleton Crew hasn't even come out. There's a movie and another season of Mandalorian. It really does start to make I get so distracted by the business of it. Is this movie going to come out how many canes am I going to personally need by the time I go to see this film? 20, 30, that kind of thing. Anyway, we are going to talk, we talked the business. We are going to talk the actual show. But first, I did want to pause here, and a couple of people have sent in nice super chats commenting on what we've been talking about. So take a quick super chat pause here. We got this wonderful one from Jared. Jared says, I hope it's shot on film, not digital. Also love you guys and gal. That's a great hope and a big ask for the volume and for modern filmmaking. I mean, there are movie houses that insist on showing things on film. Quentin Tarantino's New Beverly here in LA and many other places around the country. Ken, any possibility that Johnny Favs walked into Kathy's office and said, "I got a movie and I need 70 millimeter."
I just shot the wonderful short film Nightmare Adorable with you, all digital, and how easy that made the process for even a difficult process of making a short film for 2 days. That was tough. In 1999, my roommate tried to make a short film, and we had to drive down to the Kodak Film gargantuan-sized complex, get an appointment, wait in line, and go pay a lot of money for reels of film.
Yeah.
Jared, I'm with you, but I think George Lucas will tell you we don't need that anymore. We're going digital. We're going digital. And Johnny Favs, he'll make you a real sandwich, but he'll make you a digital film.
Jared is fighting the good fight. Long live 35 millimeter.
Yeah.
I
feel you.
understand.
I
understand. You. Me too. This comes to us from PLD Projects. Thank you so much, PLD.
Hey, Paul.
Paul says, fascinated to see the timeline of the story, this movie and Ahsoka season 2, Amanda season 4, and then the Filoni movie, which feels like a 50th anniversary by 2027.
No.
Good insight. Real question. Where's Hondo? Hashtag Hondo watch. That is true. If it doesn't happen by Filoni's movie, I think maybe the big Avengers Portal moment will be Hondo. Look, he doesn't actually show up to help anybody. He just steals something from the battlefield and leaves.
I'm convinced that in Ahsoka season 2, Baylan Skoll, unfortunately, sadly recast, but a great character, recast him or whatever. He turns the corner to that, and Hondo's there, like, "What are you doing here? Hey, everyone want to party?" It maybe sounds like Wadu, but I think that's where Hondo shows up.
Many people in the chat have commented about the ideas of dealing with the Rey and the New Jedi film not being next. We got a couple of super chats acknowledging that, so just want to share those thoughts quickly. Jared says there will be absurdly unreasonable box office expectations for the first Star Wars film post 2019. Let Mando and his Beskar take those slings, set Rey up for success. Understandable perspective, and this comes to us from Jeannie from Tahini. It is exhausting. You can't let the man get you down. We can be patient for quality film. The complainers won't like it, no matter how good it is. That, I think, is a really great, really important and valid opinion. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your takes on that, and perspectives on that difficult topic. Anything else we want to talk about for the business, or should we dive into the show?
No. John Webster Film says, hey, the sequel shot in film, though, but Johnny Favs didn't shoot him. I don't think he's interested in film.
I can't stop looking at the comments because they're too funny. Hondo, I've stolen something on your left. That's what he says. Stolen something on your left. All right, we're going to talk about the show, the actual art, the story. Jennifer, are you excited for the story? How do you think the next steps in Din and Grogu's journey can escalate to motion picture scale, whatever that means to you?
Yeah, I really like Charlie Ashby's comment. Let me see a show. He says his bold prediction, we're going to see the Mythosaur for the first time in this movie, and Favreau is going to recreate the holiday special shot. So I love that.
It's later in the UK for Charlie. He might be a few in at a pint complaining about football games to come up with that.
I love that idea. I mean, we saw a glimpse. We saw a glimpse of it, and it was terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd love to see it emerge. And I do think I'm making this bold prediction. I do think we are going to get some holiday special nods. I count on my Favreau because he enjoys it as much as I do, and I know that he's going to slip in one little holiday special nod.
Do you think that this is where we'll see a new recast Han and Jonas's Chewie, and we'll just reenact the Boba Fett animated short, but with Mando?
Oh my God.
Or Boba Fett?
I would love that.
That would be amazing. Mando would have to get his pulse rifle back in order to really complete the look in the homage.
You know what they could do? They could actually do it like the new Trolls movie, where it's like it goes into this weird world and it's all animated, just like the holiday special.
What if the whole movie is just him getting his pulse rifle back? Is the Mandalorian and Grogu quest for a pulse rifle?
I was going to tell you, Joseph, you stumbled onto the real headline here. The pulse rifle could be back.
Pulse rifle's back. I think for me, this is a conversation that comes up a lot in the difference between movies and television, and that world is changing and shifting constantly. But a desire to say, is it big enough to be a movie? Some people came out of Solo thinking it wasn't big enough to be a movie. My strong bias, my strong opinion is, yeah, for a movie, it does need to seem like an event. But for me, that means the personal stakes have to be extremely high. I have to care a lot about how it turns out for the characters. I do not need the whole galaxy to be in jeopardy. I'm a huge fan of the Harley Quinn movie with the complex title that it maybe shouldn't have had. But there's great things in there about her motivation being a sandwich, and the actual surface level motivation is it betrays what the character truly needs and wants. And what I really want for this film on that level is, what do Mando and Grogu want? What do they need? What can challenge them the most? So my wild hope thought is, we've been dealing with Grogu just a little bit, particularly in season 3. We've been moving Din along a lot. Din's been choosing what he wants, and he kind of had the reins of his destiny at the end of season 3, where he's like, I want to raise this kid so I can bring him back and he can complete his path as a Mandalorian. I want to work for the New Republic, so I'm doing moral jobs. What we got with Grogu in season 3 was just starting to open up the door to his trauma. And I think the story that we got was, in my mind, is that he's rescued by this Jedi protector, who I think he probably loses. Mm-hmm. And I think both Ahsoka and Luke are on the right path of, you are sweet, you are full of possibility, you breathe empathy, you will murder 1,000 civilizations if anyone touches your daddy, because that is your trauma. So I don't care what the plot is to tell that story. I would love a story where the stakes are, they can't lose each other. And it's more that previous seasons of Mandalorian was Din can't fail Grogu. I would love it if the movie was a little bit, Grogu can't lose Din. Grogu faces his past by embracing his future.
I have spent 10 years nodding at you in agreement, Joseph, and I'm glad to do it for another 10 more, because you're getting me. The nerd chills are real again. I said good plus was my rating for this news. You might have just bumped it up a little bit, but I have to speculate responsibly and curb my expectations, because if this was to start with Ahmed Best on the big screen as Kelleran Beck, and we go back into that, and he drops him off with Jar Jar, I hope that would happen. Probably not, maybe at this point. But what you're saying, if Mando season 4 is still coming, I'm excited about what we talked about the other day about Mando season 4 possibly being this serial adventure going through the New Republic at this time, getting the people that Carson wants him to. I think that's really exciting. That's really interesting. It could tie into some of the stuff that's already been at play, the Mandalorians, Bo-Katan. But what you're talking about is going back to the start with Grogu, not just answering questions, but delving into, like you said, his trauma, his journey, and what's the stakes. It's titled The Mandalorian and Grogu. I absolutely like what you're talking about the stakes. Might be Mandalorian for Grogu, who's this pretty powerful being who's still coming to his own. Maybe we'll get his first words, but also we might get a little bit more of the story. And if it's about that, or around those themes, because we're not worried about plot, more about themes, at this point. That's exciting. I have to almost pull back from envisioning Ahmed Best on the big screen as Kelleran Beck.
Yeah. It's just going back to that first season charm of the two of them together in the story is about both of them. I thought Grogu had some great moments in season 3, but I thought on a plot, and his stuff was all thematically aligned with what was going on, but on a plot level, it was a little bit more Mando and Bo-Katan's journey, and Grogu was coming to a slow boil. And now I want this movie to be Grogu's story bubbling over. Jennifer, how do you feel about what's at stake emotionally for Mando and Grogu in a big summer adventure?
I was all on board with everything both of you are saying. And then I had a flash of all the Mandalorians together with their helmets. And I'm going to go back to my old point. There is something about seeing an actor's face, okay? Because we have a very emotive Grogu. That child gives like the most incredible performances, and it's a puppet or CGI, right? The thing about, I need to see Pedro Pascal's face. And this is not just like me, but he's a phenomenal actor who can emote so much, as we have seen time and time again, Last of Us, in just a look. I need to see that for me to feel that emotion. They can do a lot of it with with the body movements, with the other wonderful actors, the physical actors that are there, right? But I need a little bit more in order for me to really, I don't know, to really get involved, because they have such a wonderful parent-child relationship, and I
Hmm.
totally agree. I think that Grogu needs his papa. He needs him, and that's going to be, oh my gosh, I thought that Din was going to die at the end of this movie, but now that I know that they're
Hmm.
working on a season 4, I don't think that's the case. Anyways,
Yeah, we think
I,
so.
please
I,
have him without the helmet, please, for the love of God.
I think there will. I think that is as many people have said in the chat. Yes, give us Pedro's face. Like, how do you make this a big film with Pedro Pascal's face? But I also like, I just feel like for myself, and I know many other people have different things that they mean when they mean big stakes. I want to feel like this is a big moment in those characters' lives. And
Mhm.
if Din has to go through hell for Grogu and, encounter something that can destroy Beskar, and he gets stripped literally emotionally
Mm,
until he's just the man. I mean,
mm.
that this is an Iron Man story, a man in armor story, but like one of my favorite beats in the whole Mandalorian show is when Din takes off the armor to get the information about where, Gideon's ship is,
Mhm.
and that
Mhm.
scene on the train where he's fighting like he still has armor and forgets, I can't just block with my arm because the armor is so a part of me. Who am I when that gets stripped away a little bit is, to me, a really interesting emotional thing. It's an interesting action beat. And show us Pedro's face, let him get new armor, then I can have a new action figure. That's not my. That was the last in my list. That was bottom level concern, but yeah.
I love that. I love movie worthy armor. Right, we need something new and shiny.
Yeah.
It's great. I'm with you. Look, been a fan of Pedro's since of his face since it was squished on Game of Thrones, and we do need to see more of him. Yeah, but shout out to Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder. Let's give them some roles in
Yes.
these
Hmm.
movies as well.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm with you. And we don't know those meetings, but I imagine there's at some point he's like, hey, John, if I'm showing up to set now here, I'm ready to show my face. There's I think enough reason. I know he ends with his helmet on. He's pretty attached to that helmet, but with the new kind of, hey, the armor and Bo-Katan kind of reaching across the aisle, and you go you do your thing, I'll do mine, but we're all Mandalorians. I think there's something to that. I think there's justification for Din to be like, I'm gonna breathe my the air today and put that in a movie.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I think a lot of great thoughts and comments in the chat as well. Um, One other thing I wanted to talk about is not just there's the emotional scale, there's the visual scale, whatever that means to you. If it's if it's shot on film, or if it's here's a big set with a centerpiece. Here we went to a interesting real world physical environment, live action, all that stuff. But for me, there's also uh the scale of kinds of Star Wars scenes that we're used to in big movies, which to me
Yes.
means Mando has it in him to have one of the coolest spaceship battles you've ever seen on
Mm.
big screen. Mando has it in it to have multiple set pieces of Jason Bourne, James Bond, John Wick, whatever your favorite action movie is, Atomic Blonde, whatever your favorite, oh my God, hand-to-hand combat action movie is, it has it in it to have that level of sort of hand-to-hand combat. A plot point like classic Lucas could be Din spaceship drag racing. There's a lot of potential for sort of like set piece scale. Ken, do you have any hopes for that part, the thrilling adventure part of Star Wars storytelling on the big screen?
I'm glad you remind me of this, because up until this point I'm like, nah, just Keller and Beck and Grogu sitting around a campfire sounds great. 2 hours and then Den shows up, wonderful. No, you're absolutely right. He is a bounty hunter. There is some stuff going on in the galaxy. Is this the place you sneak in Thrawn? I don't know. I don't think that's needed, but it's possible. I like what you're talking about in terms of hand-to-hand combat. Especially you got an award-winning stunt team. They just won an award this past weekend, right?
Yeah.
This is what you want to do, and you want to do on this scale. So the what, I don't know, but what you're talking about, it's not only needs to, it's gonna happen. It's just I'm excited to find the why behind it.
Yeah. This kind of goes to what we were talking about. James Farley here says, any speculation as to genre. The roots of Mandalorian are very Western, but the show has branched out across its 3 seasons. What influences might we expect from a feature film? Jennifer, you have any thoughts on that?
No, I do love the Western, obviously, theme. I'm thinking just about sets. The UK is the key to all this. If they can go to the UK and shoot on location, there's some. But then if it's Western, it means a lot of deserts. So maybe they're shooting in different areas of the US.
Hey, as a classic Doctor Who fan, let's go all real life British quarries, which is a classic Doctor Who is like almost every alien planet in exaggeration. Many alien planets are. It's a quarry. It's very effective.
Favreau loves shooting in Southern California. He'll go the Star Trek route and many other sci-fi. He'll go to Vasquez Rocks.
Yes.
He'll just go. Let's go to Vasquez.
Yes.
We went to
Awesome.
Simi Valley to bring back Boba Fett. Let's go up to Palmdale and go to Vasquez Rocks outside of Acton.
Yeah. I do wonder about that too. I think there is a possibility of the show going back to a little bit of its roots in the first season of being so focused on Mando and Grogu. I think with that comes a little bit of a samurai and Western film of these kind of lone characters out on the edges, having kind of nothing but each other and their wits and armor and the Force. But I could see some Western influences. But I also wonder if it is a chance to say, many people say this in a negative way, that Star Wars is only referencing Star Wars. But to me, there's a kind of, in the original trilogy and the prequels in particular, varying degree in the sequel trilogies, in my opinion, there is a specific Star Wars formula of let's update the adventure serial, where the emotions are high, the stakes are clear, and you don't go too long, though, between a set piece. And the dialogue is expertly minimal to keep you engaged, but it is out of the frying pan into the fire, almost as a genre onto itself. I think Indiana Jones and Star Wars kind of perfected that. I think movies like Brendan Fraser's The Mummy tap into that feeling. I kind of feel like maybe the genre will be classic summertime action adventure blockbuster. Ken, you have genre thoughts?
No, I not to directly tie it to like an Indiana Jones. He doesn't need necessarily be searching for an artifact, but that kind of the whip smart adventure, and sand, rain, snow, all of it. Almost give me like a Bond film of locations as well. And I'm not saying it's a spy thriller, but that kind of Jason Bourne you mentioned, I think that's great, and I think that stuff kind of works for me. The Western thing's going to be there. It's part of Favreau's DNA. And we could do an hour of me screaming about people who think Star Wars just references Star Wars. A New Hope just referenced Star Wars. You just hadn't seen it yet. It's the big ideas behind it that are there, that are present in all the properties and stories, and I think that's the key. But I'm just trying to. Favreau is such a slice of life guy. He loves the Western. I think he thinks he'd probably say that's the biggest influence. Filoni would probably say more Kurosawa, the samurai films, and they'll find the balance here. This one of my random, the big action set piece is going to be. It's all going to lead to Grogu having his first lightsaber fight. That's what I think. We're going to have an Attack of the Clones flashback.
We got lightsaber
but we're
fights.
Gonna have that energy. Yeah.
Wow.
We got votes for Grogu putting on his armor, lightsaber fights, the whole film building up to Grogu just saying his first word, and it's Pelimoto. Amazing. Pelly. And he's got a really deep voice too, Pelly. One other thing to talk about in terms of like what the story might be or what the movie might be shaped like that I want to get your opinion on. I really want it to feel like its own meal. So whatever the plot is, it's a threat or a mission that reveals who these characters are, what they're most afraid of, what they need to accomplish. And the movie onto itself is a complete emotional journey for Din and Grogu. It sounds like from this Deadline report that we're hearing about that there's still going to be a season 4, but I still want this to feel like if you chose, you could just see this movie and never watch another thing again. I think within that there's room for sort of light table setting. But when we were talking about season 4 of Mandalorian, I think on our recent episode that we put out today, we were talking a lot about how it could be some table setting for the New Republic era. I feel like this movie, very light table setting for the future and much more its own meal. Jennifer, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I see it almost like a standalone film in that sense, appealing to, you don't have to really know anything about Star Wars or even these characters, or just come and enjoy this popcorn movie. But there will also be other layers for the hardcore fans, which is what Favreau is so great at. Somebody mentioned Swingers. I was just thinking about Swingers the other day, and I was like, Jon Favreau is such a great storyteller. And so I think that this movie, I'm just so excited for it, because it's not going to really have that much to do with the New Republic, which makes me wonder then, well, what is season 4 going to be about? And that's kind of an interesting format that I don't know if we've really seen before. A TV show going to a movie, going back to a TV show. Somebody also in the comments mentioned Firefly. And I can't remember how that sequence went. But
that was a movie to complete the series, and it never came back.
Right.
X-Files back in the day had a movie in the middle of seasons.
Oh, it did? And how did that work?
I don't know off the top of my head the ratings, but I think it. I don't know. I know what my personal experience is. I don't know the actual business history of it. Did it work or not? Kind of thing.
Narratively, did it work? Story wise.
The example
for me, but I was falling off. So I guess it didn't work for me because I stopped watching the television show. So hey,
there you go.
The example you're looking for is Gilligan's Island TV movie, and the Return to Gilligan's Island series.
Oh,
and it worked out
tired.
Okay.
Yeah,
we have 2 comments in a row. The X-Files movie was bomb.
I liked the first. Yeah, I liked the first movie.
And the first X-Files movies was awesome. I don't know if Jared means the X-Files movie was a bomb, is it didn't do well, or no? Jared clarifies. I loved it.
Okay.
I saw it in theater. I actually loved, because I didn't watch the show, and I liked the Duchovny and Gillian Anderson, so I was watch. I remember it being good, but that's a great question. What happens next? I think part of that discussion of what comes next, we're waiting for. I'm on deadline. I'm not seeing what was said in the chat, but I trust our people in the chat seeing something I'm not having access to right now. Mando season 4 is coming. Based on our discussion on this episode that came out this morning about the New Republic and rooting for the New Republic, I think Mando season 4 can still be all about that. And I keep going back to what you're talking about, Joseph, about the summer adventure before school. But really, you have a chance to before you go worry about Carson Teva, Zeb, and the New Republic and all that stuff, and them doing that. You have a chance to do this. And it doesn't need to set up the next season. They're at a nice point, whether they got there intentionally or not. They're at a nice point to do what they need to do in this film, and then you can continue with what was going on and go into the larger galaxy and move into Filoni's movie.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how they handle that. As long as there's big, emotional stakes for Din and Grogu, and they feel truly impacted by the events of this adventure, then I'm fine if they settle into Adventure of the Week being Rangers of the New Republic. Obviously, the characters will still grow and change because that's the way Favreau has always written them, but sometimes at a slower boil. And if the movie is this big event that really has an impact on them, and then they go back to slow boil Adventures of the Week, that's fine with me. One more thing to talk about, and then we can take a look at some questions from the chat. So feel free, if you have questions, to put them in the chat. Super chats are appreciated as always. So one other thing I want to pull out about the press release is that it also goes on to say the previous slate of films is still moving forward. This press release could have been ambiguous. It could have just said, this will be the first film in our ongoing feature development slate. But it specifically says, including films helmed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, James Mangold, and Dave Filoni, as well as dropping the Ahsoka Season 2 news. Ken, how do you feel about the choice to make it clear we're not bumping the other movies out of existence? They're still in the pipeline.
I think it's important. I think it's solid. I think it's what we need. We've had discussions on air, off air. I had a discussion with the Lucasfilm related person just this past week about, hey, I get the secrecy. I get the wall of Disney and Lucasfilm with Star Wars specifically, but maybe pull it down a little bit to get ahead of the stories, confirm stories. and let the narrative be controlled by you as best you can in this digital age. It's impossible to control all of the narrative, and that's just in terms of not controlling the discourse, but controlling the announcements, the stories, shutting down a little bit of the scoop industry that can undercut these films and poison the well of discourse too. You're not going to change that. You can't change that. But this is, to me, is a little morsel of that, of going, oh, and by the way, you're probably wondering, yeah, these three are going. I know we've had some issues. I know that we know there's been some think piece essays on YouTube about we can't keep directors. No, these three are still going as of right now, which is how the industry works. And I think it was important to see that.
Yeah. Well said. Jennifer, any thoughts?
I don't believe anything anymore until we see them on set, and even on set, like, things can change and they can say, ah, surprise, Favreau's doing his movie now. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait and see, because they are constantly moving things. I just want to say, what does this mean? Somebody said in the comments, I don't believe Jen has read all those books. What books? What books? The Star Wars books? It's true. It's true. I have not.
Cal's one of my favorites from Kingsport, Tennessee. He knows he's on good behavior.
Late breaking news. Yeah, we're all behind on the Star Wars books here on Force Center. You can look forward to our reviews perhaps in the future that are like 5 years late.
Right.
Will McLean says it said at present Mando season 4 is still happening. So there's our late breaking news. Jennifer, I think you really nailed it to be. Let's get really excited for what they announce, and then let's see what happens.
Yes,
because we have to be ready for it. Are you thinking he's Cal's referencing the books behind you?
Yeah, he said, Jen, the book's on your shelf. This is true. It's a mixture of my husband, who went to social work school. He is an activist. There's a lot of those books. And then my Star Wars pop-up books.
I've read those.
Really?
That's where I'm about at.
Oh, boy.
Okay. That is absolutely great. So my thoughts real quick, and then we'll get to those questions. I'm really thrilled that they are trying to have the reins. They made a big show of announcing those directors in those projects at Star Wars Celebration. It wasn't just a press release on a Tuesday. It was at Star Wars Celebration. It was celebrating by bringing the directors on stage, having them build a relationship with the audience, bringing Daisy Ridley on stage. And until one of them maybe doesn't work, which maybe it won't, I like the communication of, we're excited about these. We're working on these. We can't possibly release all 4 of these movies in the next 2 years. So stick with us, see what happens. I think is great, but I think it's great to get ahead of those questions of, yep, all these movies are still planned. They're still in development. Should we jump to questions, Ken?
Yeah, let's do it. If you got a question, we've already highlighted some of them, but let's dive in. If you got anything, obviously we always say super chats are appreciated. It helps keep the show going and grow the brand here, but that's not necessary to get into the conversation. We'll take it all. So I'm just pulling through. What do we have? Shout out to Alex Damon saying congrats on beating the news today. I do want to highlight that. It's a fun tradition that we think Star Wars waits for us to drop our episodes on Tuesdays to release the news. We know that's not true, but it feels like it. But part of this new era, cameras, our faces, me getting caught off guard, still in workout gear for the day, is to jump ahead of it and control our own narrative with the discussion. So it's been a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah, it is really fun to just you can't control everything, and sometimes you need to be in a position to simply respond. I guess I won't work on that script this afternoon. Oh, well. All right. Yeah. Jen, you have access to all these the starred questions. Do you see any that grab you?
Yes. There was one. Oh, this was interesting. From 8984M. Do you think there will be a crawl or some sort of season 1 through 3 recap? There has to be. There has to be something to get people up to speed. I mean, I'm going to have to tell my daughter and say, okay, here's what you need to know. And I'm sure there'll be lots of those articles and videos, everything you need to know before seeing the new Mandalorian Grogu film, right?
I mean, that will just happen regardless. Like
Yeah.
people who enjoy talking about Star Wars will post things and share things of, and I think for this one, it maybe it really is the first 3 seasons of Mando, which is really not that much. You could throw Book of Boba Fett in there, maybe. But to 8984M's question, I think there is going to be some version of the crawl. I hope for some version of the crawl. I think it isn't just about necessity of setting up the plot. To me, it's entirely about mood. I don't need it to be like the traditional crawl. There's a part of me that feels like that specific style that they did, that homage to serials, that's become so synonymous with the Skywalker saga. I hope they kind of change it up. That was one of the things that got me extremely excited watching the first episode of Ahsoka, is to see that different version of the crawl. The font, was different. The look was different. Make it a weird Western scroll. Make it words that explode into flames and are burned into the desert. I don't care what you do aesthetically. Have fun with it. But the mood, I think it hooks into. You are jumping into an ongoing story in an impossibly big galaxy, and you're being told a tale. And here's the tensions. Here's the mood. The problem's already kind of begun, and we're jumping in the middle. That's one of the flavor things of it. Whatever the problem is, it's already started, and you're jumping into the middle of it. So it gives you the sense that you're being told a story, and that the story is so exciting, you're just barely catching up with it even. I think that's the power of the crawls, and I just want that mood for a film. Ken?
Yeah. What's the basic screenwriting advice? Arrive late, leave early for your scenes, right? I look. I loved the Ahsoka crawl in the series. I'm a big fan of at least having the solo Ron Howard Willow crawl. I know it might be the episodes 1 through 9 have that crawl. I'm joking a little bit here. I love this character we've created of Johnny Favs, the food truck wheeling, good time guy. But I can imagine him going, Kathy, if I'm going to make a Star Wars film, I got to have the crawl. I got to have the crawl.
Yeah,
I'm writing it now. I'm going to reach out to John Milius, and he and I are going to write this crawl. Like I can imagine that argument happening. But I think there has to be some. It might be the first film in theaters to have a previous on where we're just. It won't. I'm joking. It won't. But we need that in a certain way. But we don't need all of it. But I think some sort of crawl is a safe bet.
Yeah, I think crawl for mood, and I think I don't think you need to know that much. And I think Grief Karga is a beautiful, charming, walking exposition machine. He's one of those guys who walks into a room and says, "You got a new haircut. I like your new shoes. I heard you got a new job." He's a walking exposition machine. So you got him in your back pocket.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mando, I heard you and Grogu are going to go on some adventures with Carson. But first, before you do that,
I got it. Absolutely. They do it like the Willow book, right? In the new series Willow, it's like a book, and Grief Karga narrates it, telling this story. That'd be so fun.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah,
that is amazing.
And then at the end, he closes a book, and he's talking to some child on Navarro or something. I don't know.
I love that Grief Karga, we've now turned him into the Peter Falk of The Princess Bride, and I love it.
Exactly. I just watched it. That's why I was thinking that.
Yeah. As you wish, kid.
Great stuff. Ken, do you
have
another
kisses
question?
Are bad. I'll just highlight. Have I told the Peter Falk story? I got to tell the story real quick.
Yeah. What?
During my Groundlings run in about 2002, I went back a couple months after to watch the next show. Some of my friends were in it, and I went to the after party. Nice Italian restaurant on Melrose near the Groundling Theater. Peter Falk, rest in peace. His wife was in the class, and I ended up sitting next to Peter Falk as he had like clams and stuff. And I was in my really depressive state, and somehow we got chatting, and I started talking about how I was really depressed and feeling suicidal. I didn't know what to do, and he looks at me and he does this. He goes, "You got to be all right." And he goes back to eating. It was Columbo told me, and I'm still here. Rest in peace, Peter Falk. Anyways, highlights. There you go. Highlight this.
Now my new life goal is to be depressed in front of Grief Karga and see what he says to me.
Carl Weathers would say that. I'll tell you what, you're going to be all right.
He's gonna
He is
be
the-
all right, kid. Yeah.
He
Great
is the Peter
story.
Falk of our generation now. Highlighting this one, just Pam, thanks for the super chat. Yup, nub. There. Jen, for you here, Joe Rose says, love all your work, great show. Love your cosplays, Jennifer, especially your Frozen and Carbonite cosplay. What would it take to get another Jennifer Frozen and Carbonite cosplay in the future? Tough questions. Thank
I
you, Jen.
love that. Thank you so much. I was really happy with my Furby costume that I did recently. Not a cosplay, but I was like, oh, I miss making costumes, and I'm just starting to crochet. I was inspired by AJ, who works at Lucasfilm. She did this incredible crochet sweater of Jar Jar. What about if I crocheted a Han and Carbonite costume? Because that was a problem with the cardboard thing. It's hard to
Okay.
move around and get around places, but if it was soft or felt, there it is.
Okay. So
It'll take a
what would
long
it
time.
take? What's
Like
the challenge?
Years. Oh man.
You know,
All right.
they've made the weird action figures that I love that are Han half on Frozen from Carbonite. That would be a really fun Halloween costume where your arms could kind of flop out, and it'd
I
be a
like
little
it.
creepy, but your mouth, doing the little movements that he does.
The costume's at my mom's house, and occasionally I'll get startled by Han's hands coming up like randomly, and then I have Leia in the corner with her blaster, and it's like, it's the Hall of Star Wars.
Beautiful. Here's
Love
one that came in early on from our friend Anakin. Anakin says, desperate for Ahsoka season 2. Heart. Also, if Mando ends, with Andor also ending, do you think Acolyte will become Disney Plus new premiere series going forward? That's a really interesting question, because I think that, the Mandalorian, as they've said on panels at Star Wars Celebration, started as an experiment. Here's a little bit of money to launch this show, to try out this volume technology. Can we do it? Becomes a smash success. And for a while, now really completing this film, it's kind of carrying the banner of Star Wars. Do you think that another show like Acolyte will pick up the banner of being the main focus of Star Wars? Do you think anybody can plan that, or does it have to happen organically based on audience response, Ken?
Organically sounds nice. I also like a little bit of hey, let's try to hedge our bets to make this happen. I think I have to. Mala's right. I agree with Mala there. I'm so excited for Acolyte that I have to own my bias on it. Right? I love what Anakin is talking about. And Anakin, by the way, we hope you're doing okay. I'm excited for Ahsoka season 2 now more, which is interesting because obviously Ahsoka season 1 challenged me more than any other show. But I'm excited for it. Excited for that world. Excited for Filoni's film. But there's just something about that era, that time leading into what we know about the prequel era, the end of the High Republic. Give me a couple seasons of that, and I think I'm just so hopeful, Joseph, Jennifer, of the footage that we saw. The what I thought at times was so exciting and mind blowing, but also so Star Wars. I'm riding high on that series, so I'm gonna play some bets on Anakin's theory here.
What do you think, Jennifer?
I like that. And I really like Leslie Headland as a creator. Loved Russian Doll. There were 2 seasons of that. So I think that she probably has some ideas for a season 2. But it is one of those things that I think about Book of Boba Fett. I don't know if there was a season 2 planned. I really don't know. I really enjoyed the show. It didn't really perform as well, perhaps, as people might have hoped or expected. So I think that they are going to take a wait and see approach. And if it's a huge hit, they will absolutely greenlight a season 2. And I'm sure Leslie Headland has some scripts already waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, whatever happens with sort of, does a show sort of arise to be the real focal point of Star Wars? I like that idea of, I want a Star Wars buffet. I want lots of variety. I want lots of options. But there is also something nice when a show is like, this is the main focus. The merchandising has caught up. So they're actually able to, like Ahsoka, they got toys out pretty close to actually when the show was on. That feeling, I think, it creates a celebratory feeling. I think the Acolyte, from what we've seen, looks phenomenal. And what I hope more than anything is it has the breathing room for all the other machinery of Star Wars to catch up with it. So it has a good press buildup. It has a big trailer reveal at a Dolphins football game, I hope, for Ken.
Please.
That it has toys out immediately. I hope for it to be given the elbow room to be a banner experience of Star Wars.
Sometimes in life, I just go what Joseph said, and that's exactly what
Yep.
I'm flying.
Yep. Copy
All right.
paste.
Does it any other questions? We should definitely get through some more of these kind super chats.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah. Lunch. Lunch is on the horizon, but we got these questions. We're going to get through them. Our buddy Ken Plume says, "Hit that like button, folks. I can read." Yeah, it helps. We're trying to build this stuff here. I also want to shout out Lydia, who says, "Appreciate hearing you all today. I had some struggle with my fandom recently." Yeah, it is fandoms of all times, of all kinds, at all times can be a bit of a problem here. Question. Here, sorry, I had it. There you go. There you go. There, Jared Kozel. I don't need galactic stakes, but I do hope for a story that feels like it could be only told on a big screen, not a condensed season of the show. Said that a little bit ago in our broadcast, but I think we touched on it. But yeah, and I trust them to do that. I think that initially when I saw the news this morning, you kind of can't help but think that are they just gonna slide season 4 to this? That's why I'm actually kind of excited that, hey, maybe season 4 still go. Do they have a story? Is it just simply a business move? Is it just simply to hedge their bets because streaming is listing and all that? Could be. Could be the realities. I'm sure Uncle Bob had a say in it. I'm sure they had those conversations. But I trust Favreau on this one. That Favreau has something and that makes sense. And maybe that's just a blind hope, but I'll run with it.
Yeah. What do you have further thoughts on that, Jen?
No, I just really wish I had gone to business school because then some of these decisions would make sense and I would have some insight. Because otherwise, I'm just speculating wildly of a bunch of executives in a room of what they're thinking. But to me, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, well, having not even my foot in the door, having a toe and a half in the door of Hollywood, the great secret is nobody knows anything, and everybody tries to convince everyone that they do know what's going on.
Very true.
Everybody knew that a movie like Star Wars would never work, and here we are, all these years later.
Yeah. The decisions happen, and then everyone goes to parties and backyards and just goes, "What a dumb mistake!" But they really want to be on the film.
And I always knew it would work. They say,
yeah, that's the other one.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've had some really fun pitch meetings where people are like, well, this is what the studios are looking for now, so try to do that. Don't do this, or this, because nobody wants that. But then at the same time, who knows? Nobody knows what they want.
Yeah.
So the other thing I'll say about this topic, because we did chat about it a lot, my mind was going back to how much I adored the first episode of the second season of Mandalorian, Chapter 9, The Marshal, written and directed by Jon Favreau. That episode alone gives me such excitement for the cinematic nature of this movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu. Favreau's been making a TV show, but he's got movies in his blood. That one is shot in such an exciting way, and he even does that great aspect ratio trick that you don't even necessarily notice with the explosion of the crate dragon. I think he's really got a sense of what makes something emotionally and in terms of a spectacle feel big. And I think some of us can list what makes it a movie, and I think a lot of us maybe can't. It's just we see something and it feels big to us, or it doesn't. And I think Favreau's got a really good sense of how to just make something feel big.
I think that's a great point. I think that's a great episode to go revisit. I'm a dummy. I didn't know the aspect ratio switched until people pointed out, because I just was pulled in by it because it started to feel so big. That's a great episode to look at. Maybe we can study that for a future episode and see what we can pull out of that for the movie version.
Yes. Not a question, but very important. Hello from our friend Brian Ward. Hello there, Brian Ward.
Brian Ward here.
Yeah. All right.
I want to highlight this one real quick. Yes.
Yes.
I just can't wait to see Grogu walk the red carpet, because the technology will be good enough in a year where that will happen.
Yeah.
Just like we get a BB-8 in 2015. Grogu will be there. He'll have a little tux, maybe in Grogu colors.
I hope that not only does he waddle the red carpet, but then I hope they take him to a a franchise restaurant like an Arby's or an In-N-Out. There's all those photos of Paul Giamatti at In-N-Out. Patton Oswalt, after he won something, I can't remember what award he won, did a really funny photo shoot at an Arby's, I believe, on Hollywood Boulevard. I want to see Grogu waddle down the red carpet, and then I want paparazzi photos of him putting his little hand out of like, don't take photos of me while I just inhale, some fries at In-N-Out.
Whether or not he speaks in this movie is a big question, so I don't think he'll speak on the press run. But could you imagine Grogu doing press days, sitting across from like Ash or Maude Garrett, just giving interviews about the movie?
Oh my gosh, I want to see them, Pedro Pascal and Grogu at the Academy Awards 2026, because The Mandalorian and Grogu was a big blockbuster success. Maybe they're nominated or with the Golden Globes, whatever, right? But except Grogu won't really be able to talk, so maybe he'll just go.
But after the movie, he might be able to.
He may,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
Pedro can translate for him. Oh, he says blah blah blah.
And the money's flowing in for your cosplay,
Oh my
Jennifer. Joe
Oh
Rose
wow,
says,
Joe, thanks for that. Thanks
here's
for
to
that.
the Jennifer Frozen and Carbonite Fun. Generous donation
Oh,
from Joe Rowe. Thank you. Yes.
I'm
We'll
glad you
donate.
have faith in my crocheting skills, because
Yeah.
I'm just starting.
We'll donate directly to the yarn. How about that?
All right, Ken. Do you want to stay on question duty?
I do. Just a comment from our buddy Victor, who's great in our Discord. Mando and Grogu hunting Imperials. Love to see it. So, season 4. That seems to work here. I don't know if we need the Imperial remnant in this film, but I'm not opposed to that being an action sequence at the beginning of the film. Something like that on a big screen would be fun.
That would be really cool to start in action and then have everything, flow from there. That's so great.
Jennifer, over under, how many stormtroopers killed in the first 15 minutes of this film?
50.
Okay.
I just want to see Katie O'Brien back for season 4. Bring her back, right? She was awesome.
Yeah, love that. We've got my buddy Cal here. It's breaking out my wallet. It's bigger than Ken's for Jennifer. I usually listen to work and never see her. Could any of you all survive a bounty hunter? It's an inside joke about my wallet made it to my live stream this morning. So apologize for that. No, I get shin splints when I run. So unless I'm in a spaceship, I die, Cal. I die. I go in cold.
I could survive as an emotional bounty hunter where I'm tracking down people's feelings, but probably not actually capturing people.
If it's wrangling younglings or children, I would be a great bounty hunter.
I love the idea of like a bounty hunter as a babysitter, which I guess is what the Mandalorian started as. But that is really funny. Like, can you pick up my kid at daycare, and somebody like suiting up, like, yeah, I can do it. I can get that kid.
Fussy.
Here's a question, Joseph. I'll pitch to you first. It's kind of business and kind of art. Adelardo Fuente says, I'm really excited about the Rey movie. Crazy speculation. It's not an epic movie, but an intimate story with a mid-budget, not needing $1 billion. That's intriguing. Joseph, what do you think about that?
I think that is, I would have no objection to that. I think that's what the movie industry needs, as many people do, to come back to some mid-budget movies, and a movie made, a big spectacle movie like Star Wars made with a smaller budget that can do fine and not have to blow the doors off the place every single time. I think with a movie like Rey's, I think if it was the first out of the gate Rey in the New Jedi Order, I think it would have that weight of, we need the big spectacle of Star Wars back in movie theaters. But that would be amazing if they could say, this is a film that's got a lot of action. It is Star Wars, but it's also a philosophical film. It's also an idea film. And we're doing a little lower budget, and that's the expectation bar. Could you do that? I would see it 800 times. That's my thought. What do you think, Ken?
I would love to see it. I'd love to. I think you're kind of pitching my dinner with Andre in Star Wars, and I'm good with that.
My lightsaber fight with Andre. I mean, there's definitely some lightsaber fights in there.
I just think the reality of not just in theaters, but the scope of the story, launching this new era, it'll probably be bigger, and the budgets are bloated. That is the problem. That's why, and because of the box office conversations we're seeing, is this movie didn't do this good at the box. A lot of it has to do with, I think, bloated budgets. But I certainly can't change that here in my part of Burbank. That's not. I don't have that desk. So, but the idea of this. A mid-budget intimate film, Jen, I like that. What would you do with that?
I would love that, but I think reality with Jedi, I just see like epic battles. I see epic locations. I feel like the general audience might want that, so that's probably where they're headed.
Yeah.
But I have no problem. I would love give me a low budget Star Wars film. Where's that? Where's
Yeah.
that?
I mean, I think you could do there's the whole volume thing and there's what looks good on the volume. I think if you designed a film to really look good on the volume, which for me, it is always the weirder spaces, the more space fantasy, the shots that look like they're pulled off of a paperback science fiction book from the 70s you find in a garage sale of just what is this weirdness? Those shots always look great to me for the volume. If you wanted to do a low budget horror movie with limited location, adding to the tension, I think there's lots of ways to do it. I'm open to Rey, but in the new Jedi Order being more middle budget. But I think, I think there might be a lot of pressure, like you're talking about, Jennifer.
Yeah. All right, couple more. We'll get through this here. Then we can go eat some lunch. I'm going to microwave some taquitos today. Putting aside unknowns and what ifs, this is for one of my favorite usernames we get every now and then. Brett Bum stand by. And I always had the second bum. Brett Bum standing by. Putting aside unknowns and what ifs, I love the name, The Mandalorian and Grogu. It sounds like a fun whiz-bang blockbuster, just like Brett Bums is standing by. Joseph, this is kind of right up the pulp alley we like and just discussed.
I had forgot about our bums conversation where I believe you were saying bums without even realizing you were automatically adding a second bum.
Yeah, it's because we got two chihuahuas and I'm always like, get your little bum moving. And that's where it comes from.
Which is really funny to me now that I know the Columbo story, that every time that you make, as we all do, a slightly weird decision, a slightly weird thing happen, I'm going to just picture Columbo going, yeah, you're going to be okay. You're the kind of guy that's gonna see one bum and say two. You're gonna be okay.
You're gonna be okay.
Oh my gosh, Ken! I could believe you were from New York. Like you were definitely. It's amazing.
I don't know why an accent comes out every now and then. I've only been there 6 times.
I love it.
I forgot what Brent Bums even said.
The title, and I think it was a great. Go back to the news of the day. The Mandalorian and Grogu. I could see it on the screen. I like that.
Yeah, that they didn't announce it as a working title. They put it out as a title. I can see the title changing, but I kind of hope that it stays that way, because it does sound like a whiz-bang adventure, and it also sounds like this movie is about these two characters. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Very Western sounding. The Mandalorian and Grogu. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Good, the bad, the ugly. Yeah, totally.
Force sensitive.
Lone Wolf and Cub. Yep.
Which means we need to see Grogu with a death stick and like a Cad Bane hat in the desert.
All right, Ken, you got any more for us?
Yep. Finishing up here. Cali Kid, thanks for the super chat. 1924 will be a major date in Star Wars history. Yes. It will be a day long remembered. It saw us actually be able to discuss the news in almost real time. We got 8984M, also just saw Nightmare and Adorable and loved it. Hope Ken didn't have to eat too many red vines. I didn't eat as many as we thought we were, right, Joseph? You were packed with Twizzlers and red vines. I love red vines. I'll down those tubs. I'll down those in like 3 days and just have heartburn for 6 days. But in the making, you could spill all the tea you want on the making of your own film, but we were able to save some red vines.
Yeah, I tried to get as much as we needed of anything I could. I had a hard time finding some Twizzlers, so I had a combination of Twizzlers and red vines. And Ken, you'll have to remind me. I think there's a point at the day I had become very stressed, but I felt the Twizzlers and red vines were wrapped and told the crew that they could have at them. And I think the Twizzlers were destroyed and the red vines were left over. I think that's the way the crew voted, by eating.
Yeah, that's like the dollar vote. That's the taste vote. I like them equally. I'm fine equally. I was game. Yeah. You were like, what do you prefer? I'm like, you put it in my mouth, I'll eat it. I'm good.
I know that there is extremely strong opinion, so I was trying to be careful.
All right. Rolling through these here. Sorry. Clearing that. Stephanie Daniels says, hello there. I'm excited for this movie. You know what? That's my favorite. That's my favorite comment of the day. I'm excited. For the news. Shout out to Ken Bloom, says birthday shout out to our buddy Hal Lublin. We got you a Mando movie. Hal Lublin on his birthday has a Mando movie announcement, the Echo series dropping, which I know he was excited about, and he got a birthday gift delivered to him by Joseph Scrimshaw. That's a good birthday for our buddy Hal.
Wow.
I was dispatched by the Jedi Council of Ken Plume to deliver a birthday present to our mutual friend Hal Lublin, who is just a wonderful human being and a great actor and a great podcaster. So it was my honor.
Yeah. What are the leads of Nightmare Adorable? All right. Final question I have starred. Jen, this
Yes.
puts you on the spot,
Yeah,
but I'm prepared to do it. You
Yeah, let's
ready?
do it.
All right.
Yep,
Justin
yep.
asks, hi, guys. Is Jennifer's YouTube show still coming out?
It is. It is. In fact, I was just looking at my Final Cut Pro and saying, all right, let's do this. I've been a bit of like George Lucas, and I've been redoing things and redoing them. And I'm at the point now where I'm like, you know what? It's just better for it to be done rather than perfect. So we're getting it done. We're getting it done. And it will be out soon. I have two in the can, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll have a talk, and we're excited. We've been having so much fun on the YouTube side of things, so we'll have a talk about when we're going to release it and announce it and all that too.
Yes.
Love that, Derek. We don't want to put you on the spot yet, but there's a brewing, bubbling excitement for that series.
Me too. I'm excited. And then, yeah, we'll see.
There you go.
And one other thing we got to share here, Jeannie from Teeny says, it's my birthday too. Happy birthday.
Happy
a blessed
birthday
name day for you, Jeannie from Teeny. Absolutely. Well, that's all I got. Joseph, shall we start warming up taquitos in the microwave and bring this episode to a close?
I got a hummus wrap calling my name right now. I can hear it in the fridge. So yes, absolutely. Let's wrap this up. Jennifer, have you had lunch, and what are you going to have? And
I think
what's
I'm
the
going to
theme?
have a salad. This was kind of going to be my lunch, but I need a salad now.
You've earned it.
I've earned it.
To salads.
You did 90 minutes of basically impromptu, along with Joseph's great notes and questions, an impromptu 90-minute episode of Star Wars Talk. Jen, you could have a tri-tip steak salad if you wanted.
Whoa, that sounds delicious.
All right, that is it. We are out of here. Links to find us are down below. We'll be putting this episode up on the podcast feed for the podcast listeners. Don't you worry, we're not shutting you out there. There's some links to highlight down below. Yes, I have co-written 7 songs with a band called the Moon Agers. The link's down there. But also, Joseph, today you launched your newsletter. That was going to be the big thing of the day. This swept in, but tell us about your newsletter.
Yeah, I started. It's hopefully going to be a weekly newsletter. That's the plan. It's called Finish Your Monsters. The name Finish Your Monsters comes from what I mumble to myself when I'm working on first drafts or later drafts. Jennifer talking about the creative process like you just were, convincing myself to just get it done. It's fine if it's got some wobbly parts, some teeth in some weird place. You can fix those flaws later, or sometimes you fall in love with them because it's human. So the newsletter is going to be me discussing my own life and creative adventures and encouraging other people to just get something done, because that's the best thing to do creatively, I think, is just get something done. It feels great, and you can always fix it and keep working on it later.
There you go. There you go. Jennifer, finish that salad and then finish that monster.
Yes, exactly.
All right. That is it. We'll see you all, friends. This was Force Center. Bye-bye.